I'm Kalila Reynolds, and welcome to Taking Stock. We're bringing you all the latest business news and telling you how it will affect you and your money. But before we get started, head over to takingstock-ja.com to subscribe to our newsletter. You can click the link in the description box below. I also have some giveaways coming up. So come on, let's get this money.
First up, advertising agency The Lab has reported a 54% increase in profits for their second quarter ending April. How have they managed to do so well even though firms cut their marketing budget during COVID-19? We'll find out more from CEO of The Lab, Kimala Bennett. And later, the Analysts weighing on the latest market developments. NCB has started rolling out its new Visa Debit Card, and Proven is reporting a 235% rise in profit for the year ending March 2020. We'll discuss.
But first, here's what's hot, brought to you by Jamaica Money Market Brokers, your best interest at heart.
Over in Guyana, the opposition candidate Irfan Ali has been sworn in as president, ending a 5-month political stalemate which followed the elections on March 2. The Election Commission declared Mr. Ali the winner on Sunday, August 2, and he was sworn in hours later. The new president will manage the flow of billions of dollars in new oil revenues, as the election was the first to be held after oil giant ExxonMobil made one of the world's biggest discoveries of oil in deep waters off Guyana's coast. Outgoing President David Granger says while he respects the lawful consequences of the declaration, he would be taking his allegations of fraud to the High Court. Foreign exchange flows continue to be under pressure despite several recent interventions by the Bank of Jamaica. The central bank has already pumped $70 million into the market on 3 different occasions in July. However, twice last week, the greenback slipped to all-time lows, cruising past the $148 to $1 mark first on Tuesday to sell for $148.18. It hit another historic low on Thursday to trade for $148.27. 370 workers are to be made redundant after J. Ray and Nevy Limited (JWN) ceases operations at the Appleton Estate Sugar Factory in St. Elizabeth. The spirit manufacturer confirmed the closure last week, saying the farm's management will be divested to a third-party company which will re-employ most of the affected staff. JWN says the sugar factory loses on average $12 million a year, and that it is worse this year due to the slowdown in domestic and export sales of rum arising from COVID-19 restrictions. Operations at Appleton Estate Distillery and the Joy Spence Appleton Estate Rum Experience will not be affected by the redundancy exercise. Jamaica's largest credit union, CNWJ Cooperative, has become the first such institution to list on the Jamaica Stock Exchange, JSE. The listing was done by way of introduction on Friday, days after the JSE's listing committee gave the approval for the credit union to list its deferred shares 2 years after they started the initial process. Listing by introduction is a way of listing shares without raising new capital. It provides existing shareholders with a ready market to sell or buy shares. 450 million deferred shares have been listed at $2 each. The cost of goods and services rose in June after remaining flat in April and May. The Statistical Institute of Jamaica Statin says inflation in June was 1.4%. A 3.6% increase in the heavily weighted division food and non-alcoholic beverages largely contributed to the increase. The rate was, however, tempered by declines in the housing, water, electricity, gas, and other fuels and transport divisions. Victoria Mutual Investments Limited (VMIL) can now hold totally virtual annual general meetings going forward following its hybrid meeting last week. Shareholders recently approved proposed amendments to its Articles of Incorporation, permitting the company to hold its AGMs by electronic and/or hybrid means in the event of unforeseen circumstances similar in scale or greater than the COVID-19 pandemic. VMIL was among the 16 companies granted approval by the Supreme Court to hold their AGMs for the 2019 financial year virtually. An amendment to the Companies Act permits companies to hold general meetings electronically, but only if their Articles of Incorporation explicitly permit it. The National Commercial Bank Financial Group (NCBFG) has announced the appointment of Adrian C. Lee Chin to its board of directors. The newly appointed director is the son of well-known businessman Michael Lee Chin, who is also a director and chairman on the NCBFG board. Adrian Lee Chin is a chartered financial analyst. In a release, the group said it was pleased to welcome the younger Lee Chin to the group's board as well as that of NCB.
What's Hot was brought to you by Jamaica Money Market Brokers, your best interest at heart.
And when we come back, the Lab CEO, Kimala Bennett, will join us.
You've doubled the stakes.
So we've doubled up. Hey Khalil Larry, I'm Chaz Miller.
And I'm Shaquille Notice.
And we just want to say a big thank you. Thank you for Money Mondays JA. Thank you for taking stock. When we just started investing, we couldn't find any information elsewhere, and we found that your channels brought us right where we needed to be.
And it has been absolute gold. Every week you come out, you inspire us to take it to another level in terms of investing and also inspiring others.
And the programs, they're so relatable that you look at everything from how to understand, paying a light bill to even how to find a new business online.
IPOs, APOs, and I'm so impressed with how you just flow, and it's every week.
Every week, the consistency, we love it. And we actually took that inspiration and it pushed us to want to inspire others as well. So
we have created our own YouTube channel, Money Makes Sense. And not only that, we've also started to invest in stocks, real estate, and also established our own company.
Definitely. We've done so many things in the past couple months, and we owe a lot of the basics to you.
And we just want to give you a big shout out. You are our mentor and our friend, even though you've not met us in person as yet.
I hope that we can fix that one day.
Definitely.
Blessings.
Bless.
This segment of Taking Stock is brought to you by Bulwark Insurance Agent. Insurance made easy.
Welcome back to Taking Stock, and congratulations to Money Makes Sense, our final 20K giveaway winner. We'll have more giveaways later in the show. So COVID-19 has caused major economic fallouts in various industries. One hard-hit industry is advertising. So how has the lab managed to record a 54% increase in profits for their second quarter ending April? The lab CEO, Kimala Bennett, joins us now. Hi, Kimala. Hard lady to get a hold of.
Busy.
Busy, raking all those profits, huh?
We try.
So tell me, it's been about a year now since the lab has been listed, a little bit more than a year since I interviewed you ahead of that listing. What has this first year as a listed company on the stock exchange been like, and how is it different from being a completely private company?
I think it has just forced us to develop a little bit more, putting all the systems in place. Obviously, there's a greater focus on governance. So that always forces you to perform. And I think having shareholders to answer to know and hold you accountable, that also gives us that extra push. A lot of times when you run your own businesses privately, you have these plans, and especially if you're the CEO and, you have technically no one else really to answer to. The ideas are there, but you're probably not as proactive as you would be in a case like this. So I think it has been great. I think the team has adapted pretty well, and the company continues to grow, which was our intention and still continues to be.
What changes have you made over the past year?
We've just been focusing on the systems, so we know how to do it. We want to do it more efficiently. We have a very active board in place, so there's a lot more guidance where that is concerned. But I think for the first year, it really was us just ensuring that we stabilized, everything, and we looked at all the growth initiatives and we put things in place. And some things, as we had mentioned at the AGM, we were able to get done, and some things we continue to keep our eyes on.
I want to come back to those growth initiatives in just a few, but first, your profit numbers are out. Your numbers are out 54% for I think it's the quarter ended April. I can't say I was a bit surprised by it because that would include some of the COVID-19 period, and I know that the advertising industry has been hard hit. Me being in the advertising industry, it's been hard hit a lot. Marketing budgets are always the first thing to get cut. So how you managed to still have a 54% increase despite all of that?
We recognize that a number of our clients, were critical services for consumers. So even within, our even with COVID, a lot of them still had to get their messages out. And we just ensured that we pivoted, that we provided services or we reinforced the services that would have been needed at that time, recognizing that, in fact, there was a complete lockdown. It would mean that we would have to focus more on motion graphics or graphics, and those things could have been done from home. So I think when persons say marketing is the first budget to get cut, I don't know if that's the case that much anymore. I think persons are seeing marketing as an investment. Some persons see it as an opportunity if they can afford to. So I think it's been challenging because persons or clients obviously have to plan ahead, and they have to have a message that is, I guess, sensitive to the times. So we have seen where things have been, put on hold, but we've also been pretty busy. So we give thanks for that. And it's just to ensure that we have the systems in place to deliver.
So that reporting period would have included the beginning of COVID. We had our first case in March, but I imagine that you would have been more impacted in this reporting period ending July. So that would be April, May, June.
No, it would have been May, June, July.
May, June, July, right. So how are you impacted in this quarter just ended?
I'm not going to be able to answer that because we'll disclose.
But I'm sure you have an idea already.
You know that I'm not going to be able to answer that question.
So coming now to those plans that you spoke about pre-IPO, some of the things that you wanted to use those IPO funds for, what were you able to implement?
Focus on quality is absolutely very important to us. We made that investment. We were also able to, branch out into the various Caribbean islands. Well, one specific Caribbean island. So regional expansion has already started.
Which island is that?
Trinidad. So we've secured 2 contracts out of Trinidad.
Nice.
We were not able to complete the acquisition. The targeted company that we had, we were just not able to settle on the terms, but we're still aggressively looking for acquisition, as that remains a part of our growth strategy.
I remember when we spoke as well on that Money Mondays episode, and I was introducing the viewers to the lab and what you all do. You also had your sights set even beyond the Caribbean because of the quality of work that you do. Where are you looking?
We're looking at the US, obviously. I mean, previous to this call, I was just on a call with a partner of ours. So we are taking a slightly different approach to how we tackle the US, which, we'll disclose at a later date. But we definitely have our eyes set on that. In the prospectus, we had mentioned 2021. We maybe pushed a little bit just, with all things considered with COVID. But we are still looking into those markets because we recognize that it's a multi-billion-dollar industry, and with the quality of the work that we're putting out, we think we can get a piece of that pie.
Now, Kimala, you are one of the few female leaders of a listed company. You're in... Wait, who else is there? I'm struggling to think of who else is a female leader of a listed company. Who else can you think of, Kimala?
I don't know.
Yeah. So what is it like? Is there any difference in being a woman entrepreneur, taking on these challenges, leading your team?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think one of the only things that, we have to consider is juggling motherhood, right?
Yeah.
Real, right?
Tell me about it.
I know, right? So I tell people all the time, help. Just ensure that you have that support system so that you are able to, juggle, because that's literally what it is. And I mean, I have support both at home as well as at work. I have a great and amazing team, and I just also want to take the opportunity to thank the team because they have really, really stepped up and gone above and beyond the call of duty, as we've all gone through this whole COVID situation.
Have you been working from home?
Yes, the entire team has been working from home. I think about a week before the Prime Minister had declared work from home, we had done a test. So we did a full-blown test of how the entire organization will work from home to ensure that all systems were go, that, you know, everyone had the tools that they needed, because we were actually preparing for a full lockdown. So we did a lot of scenario mapping just to ensure that we would still have been ready and been able to assist our clients as needed.
So plan was the name of your game.
Absolutely. We had a COVID plan, a business continuity plan. We had a committee, and we learned a lot from what the other countries did. So, you know, even looking at what international agencies were doing, we also looked at what persons were doing in China, because we knew that would have been some kind of indication of how, not only how they bounced back, but what were some of the measures that they had to put in place there.
You know, that sounds like a lot, and I admire what you've done in that planning. It's, I'm sure, the reason that your company has been able to be resilient over the past few months. But all that planning also takes time away from you and your core business, and some resources as well. So how did that impact you, just your frame of mind and your ability to get other things done, like the work of the lab done?
I mean, our business is quite segmented. So, I mean, it was exactly the leadership team that was focusing on this. Creatives continue to create, producers continue to produce. It was the senior management team that focused on how exactly we were going to get through this. And that's exactly what we're there for. So it didn't take away from the strategy or plans, because this was worldwide. So it's not like, oh, this was happening over there, we're not able to do that. But our plans also included post-COVID. You know, we had gone through a number of articles from McKinsey, and they had a 4-prong approach that we followed, you know, very closely. You know, and that phase of resilience, we kind of checked all the boxes. And then there's the next phase of reimagining. Like, what does the new way of work look like, and what does advertising look like? COVID. So those were things, or those were parts of our conversation. It wasn't just about, oh, this thing is here. It was a matter of, okay, A, what's the opportunity here? And then B, how are we going to ensure to, you know, how do we ensure that we keep the ship afloat, but that we're also keeping our eyes on what the vision is for 2025?
What does your industry look like post-COVID?
Digital, you know, it's going to be, I think it has forced us more into digital. But I mean, one of the things that we have to understand is that digital is merely one platform, right? The traditional media landscape will still be there. Persons are spending more time at home. I mean, persons are still commuting. So you still have radio, you still have TV, but how persons are consuming content. So content creation is going to be key. Persons have gotten more accustomed to consuming content on their phones as well. So what you find is that we recognized that, but this, I think, has us fast-tracked Jamaica in particular, and even the world, to be a little bit more, you know, accepting of this platform.
You know, your firm also does media buying for your clients. So you buy ad spots and you place them on various media, traditional, online, and wherever. Have you been noticing a shift in where clients are putting their ads and how they're spending their money?
No. As I said, I think that digital was our focus even pre this, especially with our clients. So I think persons recognize that people are just spending more time at home. Or work. So during the time, it was pretty much, I would say, just as it was before. The focus of content, though, were the conversations that people were having.
You know, that's interesting, because I have seen, being somebody who works in traditional media, and I also work in the online space, I've seen where media owners in traditional media have been saying, you know, they've taken a hit, they've suffered, which is why I asked that question.
In terms of if they've reduced, that's one thing, but in terms of mix, it hasn't changed that much, if you understand what I mean. So it's not like somebody would say, scrap paper, we're only going digital. That has not happened.
I wouldn't expect them to say scrap paper or scrap TV or scrap radio entirely, but I would expect some cuts to have been made. You haven't seen that?
I think cuts have been made. No. No.
Well, that's comforting for somebody who works in, like I said, both spaces. But I want to thank you for joining me, Kimala. I wish you all the best with the lab. I know you guys have a lot coming up, and I look forward to the next results. All the best.
All right.
When we come back, I've got your market recap, and the analysts are standing by.
This segment of Taking Stock was brought to you by Bulwark Insurance Agency. Insurance made easy.
Time now for your market recap, brought to you by Sagicor Investments. Think wealth, think Sagicor Investments. The Jamaica Stock Exchange advanced last week with the combined index gaining a fraction of 1%. 97 stocks traded across both the main and junior markets of the JSE for the week ending Friday, July 31, 2020. 39 advanced, 43 declined, and 15 stayed the same. 92 million shares changed hands on the Jamaican dollar market, totaling $414 million. Trans-Jamaican Highway traded the most, taking up nearly 42% of market volume. The stock gained 1 cent to open the week at $1.37. Trans-Jamaican Highway was also the most traded stock in July, with nearly 102 million shares changing hands. Wigton Wind Farm ordinary shares traded the second most, with people buying and selling nearly 18 million shares in the company. The stock lost 1% to close last week at 76 cents. And Caribbean Producers Jamaica was also among the most traded, taking up 6% of market volume. The stock lost 5 cents to open the week at $2.38. Now let's see who else had the biggest gains. Key Insurance rose an astounding 59% last week. Its stock topping the chart for the biggest gains in the month of July. The stock starts this new month, August, at $7.96. Epley Caribbean Property Fund SCC is up nearly 18% to open last week at $46. And Epley 8.25 gained 15%, its stock ending the week at $6.81. On the losing side now, Iron Rock Insurance Company fell nearly 23% to close last week at $3. CAC 2009.5% cumulative redeemable preference shares fell 17% to end last week at 95 cents a share. And cargo handlers lost nearly 16%, down to $6.50. Now here's a quick look at some of the highlights for the month of July. The main index declined by 3%, while the junior market fell less than 1%. The financial index lost nearly 4%. Caribbean Cream was second in line amongst the biggest gains for July, its stock up 47%. And Caribbean Flavors and Fragrances lost the most, down 23%. Market Recap was brought to you by Sagicor Investments. Think wealth, think Sagicor Investments.
This segment of Taking Stock, The Analysts, is brought to you by Jamaica Money Market Brokers and Proven Wealth. Welcome back to Taking Stock. I've got a team of analysts to examine the week in business. I'm joined by investment analyst at Proven Wealth, Julian Morrison, investment research and sovereign risk analyst at JMMB, Leovaughani Dillion, and research and strategy analyst at Sagicor Investments, Jodian Aris. Thanks for joining me, Leo, Jodian, Julian. Always a pleasure. Let's start with this announcement from NCB that they are rolling out their Visa Debit Card. They've started rolling out their Visa Debit Card. How does this change the game, Leo? What are the implications of this?
I think it will have an incremental positive effect. NCB and some other industries, especially companies that require a lot of persons to use the online transactions. However, though, I don't think in the near term it will be anything significant. Part of the reason is most persons that would have that higher disposable income would already have access to this kind of thing, whether it be traditional credit cards. So the Visa debit might not spur that much from that side of activities. So it's more probably persons that probably have a little bit lower income, less disposable income that would come into the fold now and actually start using online transactions with it. So I don't think it's going to be good near term, but long term though, I think it will change how persons shop, how persons do their transactions, but not in the near term. I don't expect a significant change from it though.
Yeah, but I see, because NCB is the largest bank, the largest commercial bank, they have all of these customers, and perhaps that you're right, Leo, in that persons who have the higher disposable income already have access to credit cards. But I think, Jodian, that it will make a difference for a lot of people who may not qualify for a credit card or don't want to apply for a credit card, but they do want to shop online and they do want to participate in the e-commerce space. What do you think, Jody?
I think there may be an uptick there. I mean, you do have some persons who are adverse to having a credit card and would possibly see a Visa debit as a greater option for them. So, but I'm not sure if it's going to be a very big change. I think for most persons, and I know a lot of courier houses are already offer where you can go in and pay them and then they will do the transaction on your behalf. So it may not be as big of an increase in transactions, but it should have some amount of uptick. But I'm not necessarily seeing it as a huge game changer.
How might this affect competition in the space? I know Leo JMMB already has a Visa debit. Scotia has a Visa debit as well. They've been, on the scene for a long time with that product. Do you see any type of migration from companies like a Scotia to NCB now that they offer this service, Julian?
Well, in my opinion, and let me just declare that I'm not an expert specifically on cards, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just my opinion. I'm just thinking that individuals who are that savvy may opt to have more than one card as opposed to switching from one card to the next. In terms of competition, it could put some pressure on fee income from the perspective of the card, because we know that fee income is a major driver for financial institutions right now. And what it could do is force financial institutions to be more mindful of how they charge fees on these types of transactions because there are more options.
As you mentioned fees, I saw Scotia was trending recently because of their new fee structure. Yeah, they're trending quite a bit. Leo, you have your eye on Carib Cement this week. Tell me why.
All right, so Carib Cement is one of a few companies that reported earnings for Q2, second quarter. So you're getting a glimpse of what companies were facing during the height of the pandemic, globally, but yeah. So you're getting an idea of what those earnings look like. Now, that is supposed to give you a view as to which companies are weathering the storm well and which not. So Carib Cement numbers, though, were impressive because of the industry in particular that they're in, and of course the environment that was, taking place through Q2. Because as you remember, there was a lot of shutdown, in the economy because of it and their construction. So the fact that they're able to grow revenue, profit was up impressively, and the next thing to about them in particular is the aggressive pay down of their debt. So if you go back to Q3 2018, you saw where they had debt of almost $13 billion on the balance sheet. Now it's more close to $7 billion. They've already paid down like $2.3 billion or about $2.1 billion in their debt, paid that down in this first half of the year. So what you're seeing is that you're seeing a shift, because one of the major issues for Carib Cement for a little while has been the high debt burden that they've had. So most of their debt is in US dollars. So every time the Jamaican dollar devalues against the US, that would go up, right? And their interest expense would go up from foreign exchange losses. That's been wiped out, or at least being reduced now. So what you're seeing is better numbers coming out of them. Now, I'm still a bit cautious because the way they're able to produce this number, to me, in terms of in this environment, I would like to see them be able to do that for a couple more quarters to show more stability and to view this not as an anomaly. Because again, that environment in Q2 was pretty bad. So the fact that they're able to produce that, to me, is remarkable, and it shows that Jamaican businesses, they have some what I call it now, some persons at the top that kind of know what they're doing. So a lot of earnings came out that were very good. A few were bad for Q2, but a lot of good numbers. But that one to me stood out given the industry. So Grace Kennedy was good. That was expected.
Carib definitely would stand out because construction, if you looked around in April, in May, even June, and to some extent July, it seemed that construction had stalled at many locations. And so for Carib to be showing good results still, I can imagine why you're surprised.
Yeah,
Why
it's the
stand
most
out?
surprising. Yeah, because I mean, some others were good enough. So yeah, I had Grace Kennedy, yeah, the Lasco manufacturing, Lasco distributors, but most of those are more staple industries that are operating. So of course, regardless of the economic climate, you will be buying, some tin food or so will always be selling. It'll always be selling like Lasco food drink will sell. But to sell cement during a downturn, that to me kind of stood out.
So let's talk about Grace then. So Jodian, you've had your eye on Grace Kennedy's results. What are the highlights there?
As Leah had pointed out, I mean, they showed some positive results for Q2, which is in line with some expectations, seeing that they're heavy in food production, and it would have been considered a staple, and as such, persons would definitely still be buying and consuming food. So in terms of food production, the food segment was up, and that includes distribution through its supermarkets such as Hilo. We also noticed that the financial services segment was up, and that was a little bit not expected, seeing that we anticipated a downturn and we saw remittances would have fallen during the quarter in light of what is happening globally. However, there was an uptick there in pre-tax profits for the financial services segment, and so that was interesting to see. It's still a fairly stable stock to watch. I mean, the price has been falling down, but it's still, results were in line with expectations. It is possible that going into the next quarter that they may have some downturn with the fact that persons may have less disposable income, and as such, persons probably would have stocked up in the early parts of COVID, and they may just be working from some reserves at this point in time. So there is still some caution that investors would have to consider when it is that you're looking at a GK.
Yeah, I'm glad that you brought up the issue of the remittances and the hit on their money industry and the money arm of the business, because even though there was a downturn in the early part of COVID-19 in remittances, I think the BOJ had reported something like a 20% decline. Over the 3-month period, it turned out to be not that significant. So perhaps that's why we're seeing where GK wasn't hit as hard as might have been expected. Now, Leah had mentioned Lasco, I think you said Lasco distributors or I don't remember which one Last M. So that's what I want to come to next. Julian, tell me about Last M's performance.
Well, as Leah mentioned earlier, Last M had some success during the period, the April to June period, when the Great Lockdown took full effect. Now, what this would have highlighted is the fact that individuals were stockpiling low-cost consumables, such as tin products, and also powder milk and so on, and porridge mix and things like that. So these are products that we call defensive, meaning that they have the ability to resist economic downturn, so that whenever other sectors might be facing challenges because of recessionary conditions, they might still be able to exhibit strong sales activity. And this worked to Last M's advantage. Another highlight is the fact that the company has been aggressively improving its cost efficiency. So costs from goods sold actually trended downward. So we're seeing improved margins right across the board. Gross profit margins, operating profit margins, net profit margins. We're seeing where the company is also deleveraging, meaning that they have been aggressively paying down their debt, and also they have improved their cash position significantly, and cash flow from operations has also been up. So it means that the quality of earnings is good. So we've seen that all in all, Last M has really been disciplined in improving their efficiency and positioning the company to actually ride through the difficult times in the next coming quarters.
Before we go, guys, Julian, I see where your company, Proven, has posted some phenomenal results, 300% increase. What's behind that?
Well, I will just speak from a bird's eye view. Proven's key business model is to take strategic positions in companies that are in their portfolio. So these would include JMMB, Access Financial, and others. And what they will do over time is not only to earn income from these investments by holding them, but also when the time is right to execute what is called an exit. Now, when an exit is realized, meaning that when the company decides to sell a portion or all of its holdings, it would actually help to increase the earnings significantly because it would be a lump sum coming in within a particular period. So during this last financial year, we exited partially our investment in Access Financial Services, and that also added to our performance. And of course, the performance of portfolio companies, including Proven Wealth and our investment in JMMB, has been doing very well. But clearly, I can. Yes, Kali.
So, Leo, would that indicate then that this is not something that we should expect to see replicated next year in terms of performance because they did benefit from the one-off sale of those shares in Access?
Yeah, definitely. And I think most market participants would get that by now that given the structure of the company, Proven, it tends to have very basically lumpy revenue and profit recognition. So as Julian had mentioned, basically when they exit something, you'll see a big uptick in profits, and then the next quarter, next financial year, you'll see that drop. But so for investors in a company like that, you'd have to look long term, because if you look on any given year or any given quarter, you'll get these big swings up and down. So yeah, you can't expect that. And to note too, there's two major things that occurred in this one financial year. So it's the JMMB stake that boosted the numbers, and on top of that, the sale of the Access shares to reduce your stake from like 49% down to an associate around 20+%. So because of that, two major transactions in a given financial year, that's going to create a massive swing.
Yeah, so next year, Jodian, when shareholders see those numbers coming from Proven, they shouldn't get frightened and say, oh my God, Proven's profit has fallen. There's a reason for it, because this year was an anomaly.
Well, you'll be comparing to a relatively higher base when you look at next year's financial. But as we had pointed out, they still have, what you would line item called share of profit in associates. And so if it is that you are optimistic on JMMB, then you would then see some impact of that as well in Proven. And they have also made other acquisitions throughout in recent times. I think they have done something with Dream Entertainment. So it depends on how it is that you see. Those could also have some impact. But it definitely, with a sale of and reducing the position in Access, then you definitely see a big ticket item that was added in the 2019-2020 financial year, and when you do next year, we're comparing to a larger base. So you may see a dip because of that.
As Dream would have taken a big hit being in the entertainment space. I heard Kimala Bennett saying, I think $10 billion is what they've lost because they didn't have Dream Weekend that was canceled. Carnival, they participate in that. I think they do Exodus Band. So they would have taken a big hit, and so Proven would feel that as well. But thanks for joining me. Always a good discussion. Appreciate your perspectives.
All right.
Alrighty.
Later, guys. After the break, we have our giveaway. This segment of Taking Stock, The Analysts, was brought to you by Jamaica Money Market Brokers and Proven Wealth. That's our show for this week. Thanks for watching. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, and of course, share with a few friends. Also subscribe to our newsletter at takingstock-ja.com and turn on those post notifications so that you can be the first to see all of my other videos. The goal is to get to 50,000 subscribers. We want to help people learn more about money so we can all get this money together. This week on Money Mondays JA, CNWJ Cooperative Credit Union is the first credit union to list on the Jamaica Stock Exchange. I'll break down all the details. And on Money Moves JA with Exim Bank, I'll tell you all about trade credit insurance and why, if you're an exporter, this is something that you need. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Kalila Ray and follow at TakingStockJA on Instagram. If you want to connect with the analysts this week, check the description box below for their contact information. Now for our t-shirt giveaways. First of all, congratulations to last week's winner, Knockers Forever 2000. Email admin@KalilaRayMedia.com to claim your prize. Now here's this week's question. So last week, we spoke to CEO of the new Kingston Creative Hub, Andrea Dempster-Chung. Name 3 things offered by the Kingston Creative Hub. Easy question. Comment the answer below, and you could win one of our t-shirts. You have until Friday, August 7, 2020 to answer. And if you just want to order one of these cool shirts, email admin@KalilaRayMedia.com. Now tell a friend about taking stock because investing is the new sexy. So let's make it cool to talk about money. I'm Kalila Reynolds. Stay safe.